You wake up in the middle of the night. Your eyes snap open. The room is dark, but you can see the outline of your furniture, the crack of light under the door. You try to sit up. Nothing happens. You try to scream. Your mouth won't open. Your chest feels like someone's sitting on it, and then you see it. A dark figure standing in the corner of your room. Watching. Waiting. This isn't a nightmare. You're completely awake, and what's happening to you right now has a name. Welcome to the hidden glitches in your own mind. There are moments when your brain betrays you. When reality fractures just enough to make you question everything you thought you knew about consciousness. These aren't ghost stories. They're not supernatural events. They're documented psychological phenomena that scientists have studied for decades. And chances are you've experienced at least one of them. Let's go back to that bedroom. You're trapped in your own body. Fully conscious, fully aware, completely helpless. This is sleep paralysis, and it happens to roughly 8% of the population on a regular basis. But here's what makes it truly terrifying. Nearly every person who experiences it reports the same thing. The presence, the shadow figure, the demon sitting on their chest. Different cultures, different centuries, same description. The old hag in Newfoundland folklore. The Pisadira in Brazilian legend. The Kanashibari in Japan. All describing the exact same experience you just had in your modern bedroom with your smartphone charging on the nightstand. So what's really happening? Your brain operates in stages throughout the night. During REM sleep, the stage where dreaming occurs, your brain does something remarkable. It paralyzes you. Every major muscle group except your diaphragm and eye muscles goes completely limp. This is called REM atonia, and it's a safety mechanism. Without it, you'd physically act out every dream. You'd punch walls, kick your partner, walk off balconies. But sometimes the system glitches. Your consciousness wakes up before the paralysis wears off. You're mentally awake but physically asleep. Your rational mind is screaming at your body to move, but the motor cortex isn't receiving the message. The disconnect is absolute. And that figure in the corner? That's where it gets fascinating. Your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. When you can't move and you don't know why, your threat detection system goes into overdrive. The amygdala, your brain's fear center, starts firing. It needs an explanation for why you're paralyzed. So it creates one. A predator, an intruder, a presence. But there's more. During REM sleep, your visual cortex is highly active, generating dream imagery. When you wake up with your eyes open but your brain still partially in REM, those dream images can bleed into your waking vision. You're not hallucinating in the traditional sense. You're seeing dream content projected onto reality. The weight on your chest? That's your breathing pattern still locked in sleep mode, taking shallow breaths when your conscious mind expects deep ones. The feeling of suffocation is real. The demon is not. Knowing this doesn't make it less terrifying when it happens. But what if the glitch wasn't in your bedroom at night? What if it happened in broad daylight, on a busy street, when you looked up and saw something that shouldn't exist? You're walking through a shopping mall. Thousands of people moving in every direction. Your mind is wandering, thinking about what you need to buy, where you parked. And then you see yourself. Not someone who looks similar, not a person with the same hair color. You, your face, your build, even wearing a similar jacket. For a split second, reality fractures, your brain completely freezes. The doppelganger phenomenon isn't supernatural, but it exposes something unsettling about how your brain constructs reality. You don't see the world as it actually is. You see a simulation your brain creates based on fragments of information and a massive database of patterns. Your facial recognition system is one of the most sophisticated pattern-matching computers ever evolved. You can recognize a face you haven't seen in 20 years from across a crowded room in less than a second, but that speed comes with a cost: errors. When your brain encounters a face with even a few matching features to your own self-image, something misfires. The pattern matching system says, match, before the analytical system can say, wait, that's impossible. You get a false positive. a ghost signal. But here's what makes it truly strange. The moment isn't just visual. Time seems to slow down. You feel a jolt of adrenaline. Some people report feeling like they're outside their own body, watching themselves from a distance. Why such an extreme reaction? Because your brain has an internal model of self. It knows where you are in space. It knows you can't be in two places at once. When it receives visual data that contradicts this fundamental truth, it triggers a crisis. The system crashes for a microsecond while it tries to resolve the paradox. Most people never talk about these moments. They feel too strange, too personal, too impossible to explain. But they happen more than you'd think. And sometimes the glitch isn't about what you see. Sometimes it's about what you almost do. About the dark thought that comes out of nowhere and makes you question who you really are. You're standing at the edge of a cliff. The view is breathtaking. Hundreds of feet of empty space between you and the rocks below. You're not depressed. You're not suicidal. Life is actually going pretty well. And then your brain whispers, jump. Not as a command, as a question, what if? The French call it l'appel du vide, the call of the void. That sudden, intrusive thought that you could do something catastrophic right now. You could swerve into oncoming traffic. You could drop your phone off this balcony. You could push that person on the subway platform. For years, people who experienced these thoughts were terrified they were secretly dangerous. That the thoughts revealed some hidden darkness in their psyche. They're not. These intrusive thoughts are actually your brain's safety system working perfectly. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for impulse control and decision-making, is constantly running simulations. What are the dangers in this environment? What could go wrong? How do I avoid catastrophe? When you're near a cliff, your brain identifies the danger, falling. But to truly understand that danger, it has to simulate it. It has to imagine what would happen if you jumped. That simulation briefly enters your conscious awareness as a thought. The thought isn't a desire. It's a warning. Your brain showing you the worst-case scenario so you can actively choose to avoid it. The fact that the thought disturbs you proves the system is working. You're not fighting an urge to jump. You're experiencing the cognitive process that ensures you don't. But here's the unsettling part. The more you try to suppress these thoughts, the more frequently they appear. It's called the white bear problem. Tell yourself not to think about a white bear, and that's all you can think about. The void calls to everyone. The difference between a healthy brain and a dangerous one isn't whether you hear the call. It's whether you answer it. But what happens when the danger isn't external? When your own body becomes the threat you can't escape? You're alone in your apartment. Completely alone. The doors are locked. The windows are closed. You're reading a book, scrolling your phone, doing something perfectly mundane. And then the feeling hits you. Someone is watching. You turn around. Nothing there. You check the windows. Empty street. You look at your security camera feed. No one in the hallway. But the feeling doesn't go away. The certainty that you're being observed is overwhelming. Your skin prickles, the hair on your neck stands up. This is the gaze detection illusion, and it's rooted in one of the oldest survival mechanisms in your brain. For millions of years, being watched meant being hunted. Our ancestors who were best at detecting predators before they attacked were the ones who survived to pass on their genes. So evolution built us a hyperactive threat detection system. Better to feel watched when you're alone than to miss the predator when it's real. Your brain is constantly monitoring your peripheral vision, listening for sounds that don't fit the environment, processing air pressure changes that might indicate movement. It's looking for patterns that suggest agency, intelligence, intent. And here's the problem. The system is calibrated to have false positives. If it's triggered by shadows, unusual silence, or even just the stress hormone cortisol in your bloodstream, it fires the same alarm. Threat detected. You feel the gaze even though there are no eyes. Your body prepares for confrontation even though there's no enemy. Studies have shown that people can feel when they're being watched at rates slightly better than chance, but not by much. What we're actually detecting isn't the gaze itself. It's the subtle environmental changes that often accompany someone's presence. The shift in air current, the micro sound of breathing, the faint smell of another person. Our conscious mind can't process these signals directly, so it translates them into the sensation of being watched. But sometimes there's no one there at all. Your threat detection system is firing in an empty room, a ghost in the machine. And that brings us to the most disturbing glitch of all. The one that makes you question whether anything is real, whether you're even real. You're sitting in your living room, the same living room you've sat in 1,000 times. Your coffee table, your couch, your TV. Everything is exactly where it should be. But something is wrong. It doesn't feel real anymore. You're looking at your life through a sheet of glass. Everything is distant, muted, like you're watching a movie of your own existence instead of living it. This is derealization, and it's one of the most disturbing experiences your brain can generate. You're not hallucinating. You're not delusional. You know logically that everything is real, but the emotional conviction is gone. The sense of presence, of realness, has evaporated. Some people describe it as living in a dream. Others say it's like being underwater with everything moving in slow motion and muffled. One person called it existing behind my own eyes. Derealization is your brain's emergency shutdown system. When you're overwhelmed by stress, anxiety, trauma, or even just chronic sleep deprivation, your brain tries to protect itself by creating emotional distance from reality. It's like pulling a circuit breaker before the whole system overloads. The mechanism involves the prefrontal cortex suppressing activity in the emotional centers of your brain. Your sensory input is still working perfectly. Your eyes see, your ears hear, but the emotional significance of that information is dampened. You know that's your mother, but you don't feel that it's your mother. You recognize your home, but it doesn't feel like home. For most people, derealization lasts minutes to hours. It comes during periods of extreme stress and fades when the threat passes. But for some, it becomes chronic. They spend months, even years, trapped behind that glass wall, unable to feel fully present in their own lives. The cruelty of derealization is that you can't think your way out of it. You can't logic yourself back into feeling real. The harder you try to grasp reality, the more it slips away. And here's what makes it truly existential. How do you prove to yourself that reality is real? When your own perception becomes untrustworthy, what do you have left to stand on? Philosophers have wrestled with this question for centuries. Descartes tried to solve it with, I think, therefore I am. But when you're experiencing derealization, even your own existence feels like a hypothesis you can't quite prove. These 5 phenomena have something in common. They reveal the truth about consciousness that we spend most of our lives forgetting. Your experience of reality isn't reality itself. It's a simulation your brain creates from incomplete information, shaped by millions of years of evolution, running on biological hardware that's prone to glitches. Sleep paralysis shows you that consciousness and physical control are separate systems. The doppelganger effect proves your perception is pattern matching, not objective truth. The call of the void reveals that your thoughts aren't always yours. The gaze detection illusion demonstrates your threat detection system firing false alarms. And derealization exposes the fragility of your sense of realness itself. Most of the time, the system works flawlessly. You wake up, go about your day, and never question whether what you're seeing is what's actually there. The illusion is perfect. Until it's not. Until 3 a.m. when you open your eyes and can't move. Until the street when you see your own face in the crowd. Until the cliff when your brain asks the question you never wanted to consider. Until the empty room when you feel the eyes that aren't there. Until the ordinary afternoon when everything stops feeling real. These glitches don't mean you're broken. They mean you're human. They're the cost of having a brain sophisticated enough to create the rich, seamless experience of reality you enjoy every other moment of your life. But they should make you wonder, If your brain can glitch in these specific documented ways, what other parts of your reality might be constructs? What other certainties might be simulations? The next time you're absolutely sure of something, remember, your brain has been wrong before, and it'll be wrong again. You just won't always know when.